Welcome to the Sincerely God podcast. I'm Sarah, and I believe that God is speaking to all of us all the time and in many different ways. The primary way that I listen is through two-way journaling. And on this podcast, I share excerpts from my journaling time with God, which are really inspirational messages spoken from the perspective of God to you. I'll talk more about what two-way journaling is and explore other methods which may be helpful for you to listen to God in your own unique way. I'm just an ordinary person who gets to hear from an extraordinary God, and I believe you can too. Thanks for joining. Hi everyone, so welcome to the show today. I'm going to be sharing about an excerpt where God is talking to me about joy. And, I was just kind of going back through some of my old journaling to really define one that I wanted to share. And when I came across this one, it was like, wow, I need to remember this. There's a lot of, honestly, practical things in here that I feel like God has been trying to show me, teach me, so I can live it out. And this is all the way back from June of 2018, and I'm still trying to learn this. So I hope that you find some of it helpful as well. This is what God was speaking to me. He says, I am teaching you, my child. I am showing you the way. Look to me and receive my love, my joy, my provision for you. I am always pouring out my love and gladness upon you. Be still and breathe in and receive this pouring out. You will feel it as love and peace and joy. In my presence is pure joy. The joy I give is not contingent upon anything else. You simply receive it regardless of the circumstances around you. You may receive this joy fully because you trust me fully. If you do not trust me, your joy will not be complete. Trust and receive and be joyful. Look at all I have done for you. Remember all I have given you and demonstrated for you. Hold all of this in your heart. Do not let the negativity of this world steal your joy. There is nothing in this world that can take what I have given you. Can a song ever be taken away? Even if you have no voice, the song continues in your heart. There is something about a song. It is special. It speaks in ways words alone cannot. Sing for me, my child. Sing with me and with my angels. Sing for the world to hear. Watch as others join in. Many will come to me because they hear your song. Sing brightly for me. Let your light shine for others to see. I am your source of light. Do not worry so much about saying the right thing or doing this life perfectly. That is not what I mean when I tell you to shine and sing. I am your source. I am your light. I give you the reason to sing. Simply receive from me and let the overflow change the world around you. Yes, answer when others ask what your source of joy and strength is, but do not be concerned about speaking out or living your life just right. Simply live for me, with me. Simply receive all I am giving you. Receive and you will give as a result. My song will bubble up inside you so you can't help but let it out. So I'm just reading it just now again. I'm just overwhelmed by it. There's so much here that really is just all about what God is offering to us, this joy, living in joy that cannot be taken away. And I feel like for me, this idea of joy has been really a central theme probably for the past 2 to 3 years, that it's been something that God has really been trying, I think, to just open my awareness to, that I can step fully into it. And this idea that the joy that we receive from God is not contingent upon anything else, right? We can be going through extremely difficult circumstances and yet still have joy. And yeah, we can still be sad and we can still grieve and we can still be frustrated, but joy can coexist with all of those other things. I remember having a dream that was very prophetic, and God was really emphasizing how joy and sadness can coexist. And often you can't have one without a little bit of the other. And when we have this concept of joy where it only exists in this perfection of everything we want is happening. Everything is going, right the way that we desire it to go. And I'm perfectly happy and I have all of the positive feelings, and that's what joy is, then we're actually missing the version of joy that God is offering to us, which isn't contingent upon circumstances, which isn't contingent upon having all of these other things lined up to be good, and really isn't contingent upon not having these negative feelings, emotions present at the same time. I think the joy that God offers to us it's something that's deep within. It's something that, he describes it as you will feel it as love and peace and joy. And so I think there is this intermixture of those three, that joy is almost a type of peace, that you can be hopeful, you can have a positive outlook, you can have a calm center, a peace about what the future holds. And not just peace, but like hopefulness, right? That when we're going through something hard, having this hope and knowing that it won't always be like this, or that there can be positive experiences even in the middle of the negative experiences. And I feel like I can't even begin to do justice to this idea of what joy truly is. I probably should have looked up a definition to see if that helped at all, but I really feel like it's something that God has been trying to teach me about. And when I experience it, it is this beyond what I can describe. It's almost beyond an emotion, because it's deeper and more all-encompassing. It's like it touches every aspect of who I am, and not just, let's say, the emotional aspect. It certainly does impact that emotional aspect, but it goes beyond. But first, I think the key that is speaking to me in this, as a reminder of really what I'm trying to learn right now, he says, you may receive this joy fully because you trust me fully. If you do not trust me, your joy will not be complete. That there's this absolute tie between trust in God and being joyful, receiving joy, his joy. That I think this idea of trust is very tied to this idea of being free for me. So as I'm learning to live in true freedom, in the freedom that God offers to me and all of us, that really that freedom is on the other side of trust. If I can trust that God is above all, if I can trust that God is always good, if I can trust that God is always with me, so that even if I'm going through a very difficult thing, right? We still live in a broken world. There are still horrible things that happen, sickness, disease, accidents, right? Natural disasters. But there's a level of not having to carry that weight of kind of everything is dependent upon me, right? If we don't have this trust that God is always with me and helping me and will speak to me and will give me strength and will, carry me through circumstances that I wouldn't be able to handle on my own. If we don't believe, if we don't have a trust to that level, then there's an amount of responsibility that is on our own selves, that it's up to me to have a good attitude. It's up to me to be strong enough. It's up to me to be able to survive and carry through this particular difficult situation. But when we can get to this level of trust, it brings a level of freedom. And with that freedom is this joy that he's talking about. And I think, I've talked a little bit about faith in the past, of just how in a way we can't will ourselves to believe, but there is a choice, right? There is some active participation, but also it's something that almost needs to get proven out, right? That it's not about our faith. Faith is based on who God is. And God is unending, unchanging, all of the things. So our faith based on him is all of those things, right? It is enough. It is its fullness. But what we have to do is I say learn, but learn isn't really the best word either, because it's beyond learning. It's proving out this faith that exists. It's proving out really that trustworthiness, right? It's like we go through our life and there's things that I've come to a point, right? Like I don't need to have faith in gravity. I know the existence of gravity, right? I know its impact on my everyday life to the extent where I don't even it doesn't even occur to me to think about it. But it's because it's been proven out. It's been proven out with everything I see around me. It's been proven out with all the people who have gone before me. It's been proven out in my own life. So there's an aspect of faith and trust that as we take risks, as we have experiences where we see when we put our trust in God that He's with us. And that doesn't mean everything goes the way that we want it, but there's a level of seeing how God is supporting and helping and just being with us. Sometimes that's just the comfort and encouragement that can come from knowing God is with us. But this idea of it needs to be proven out. So as we can get to some point of, or each next level of this amount of trusting, it's like it unlocks this next level of living in and receiving His joy. And I don't know if there's a shortcut. If there is, please tell me, because I've been trying to learn this for years, many, many years. And it's something that God has really been working on in me, especially for these last couple of years. And I can see progress, but I'm still not there. I'm still not to that level of trust and to that level of freedom and to that level of joy that God is offering and is desiring me to receive and to live in. And I think that's true for all of us, that there's this fullness of joy that He wants you to live in, that He is inviting you into, but it comes with trust, that we cannot receive the fullness of that joy if we don't first fully trust Him. And I think that storyline of getting to that trust can look different for everyone. And you can't always compare, where you're at versus the next person. First of all, we don't know everybody's story. There's a lot of things that happen in the background and in the history that if you're just interacting today, you don't know that backstory. But we also experience things in different ways and we learn in different ways. And I think maybe I'm a slow learner in this, at least in this aspect, because it's been such a process. So I guess I want to encourage you that if you don't feel like you're there yet, you're in good company. And also you don't need to compare your story to someone else's story, but to just keep seeking, keep asking God, help me to trust more. Show me, that's the other thing He says in here is, look at all I have done for you. Remember all I had given to you and demonstrated for you. Hold all of this in your heart. That's such a key piece, is recognizing, acknowledging, being grateful for all the ways that God has been there for you, has shown, right, what I have given to you and demonstrated for you. And then to hold it in our heart. One thing that I do is I have voice memos on my phone of some of these journaling words that have been extra impactful to me. And I literally, every night before I go to bed, I will take time to just go back and listen to some of these old words. And that's part of how I practically hold it in my heart. And I have some more recent things that I've been kind of journeying through where God has been speaking to me about specific things, and then seeing some of those things play out. I've actually been recording a lot of it. And so going back and even rereading some of the things that I've noted down of ways that God spoke to me in a unique way, or I saw a promise that He had spoken come to pass or begin to unravel, looking back even in the big step I took to kind of leave my career. That was something that God had spoken to me, and seeing that play out, when I can remind myself of how God has proven to me that He's present, right? Proven to me that He's speaking to me, proven to me that He has plans and that He will he will see those plans out. That's been huge to just remind myself. And I think that's something that you can even see if you read the Bible and you read some of the teachings. There's a big aspect of that, certainly in the history of kind of that is Jewish culture. So much was this kind of telling the stories of their ancestors, right? Handing down the stories of the miracles that God had done, that was such a key piece of even the current generation that didn't personally experience those miracles, but their grandparents perhaps did, that was a way of holding it in their hearts and being able to have that trust and faith on their own. So that's something that, that's something that you can even start doing. If something, whether it's a way that God is speaking to you, maybe you had a dream, maybe you do two-way journaling, or, whatever is your particular way, keep track of those, right? Keep track of when God is speaking to you, and keep track of when, especially if he's speaking to you of like giving you guidance or maybe telling you about something that is in your future. When those things play out, record them, right? Keep track in whatever way that works for you. Maybe it's a voice memo, maybe it's keeping some type of journal, but noting it down, even if it's maybe just a way that God moved in your life, that it wasn't even that he spoke to you, it was just something happened that was so clearly God. Write it down, keep track, and then remind yourself, go back over those things, because it will help build your faith in the present. It'll help build your faith. Like maybe you're going through a hard time, but remembering the last hard time that you got through and some of the ways that God just showed up supernaturally, like a friend showing up out of the blue, or a person calling, or just providing for a need. Those are things that can help remind you and build your faith and trust in the present. And like he's saying, give you space to receive that joy. And then I absolutely love this picture that he's talking about a song, right? He's comparing this gift of joy that he's offering to a song that, first of all, there's something about a song, right? Songs speak to us in ways that nothing else can. Maybe it's a song that reminds you of a period of time in your life, and when you hear it, you get all those same feelings, emotions from that period of time. Or it's just a particular song that's just, it seems like it's speaking to your soul, and it can bring you to tears or just evoke certain emotions in you. There's something about a song that I think hits us in a deeper way than other things can. Just words. I mean, poetry, I think, has a certain level of that, but then you put that poetry to music, and it is just, again, another level. So first, just this idea that there's something about a song, but also that a song cannot be taken away. That even if you have no voice and you cannot sing that song aloud, you can still hear that song in your heart. You can still play that song in your mind. I had a guest episode where we talked about hearing God through music, and how often you can just kind of wake up in the morning and a song is just on replay in your mind, and that's a way that God is speaking to you. That you can keep replaying that in your mind throughout your day, even if you don't listen to it, even if you don't sing it, it's still playing in your mind, it's still playing in your heart, and it's still having an impact on you. So just this same idea that you can have a joy that the world cannot take away. You can have a joy that the hardest of circumstances cannot take away. Yes, you may still have pain, you may still grieve, you may still be sad, but there can be a joy that is intermixed and entangled in that somehow makes the grief easier to bear, that somehow makes the pain easier to bear, because it brings this level of peace and almost like hopefulness and a positive outlook that there's more, that it isn't just the negative, it isn't just the pain, but that there is good and there's joy at the same time. And then this idea of just singing, right? He says, sing for me, my child. Sing with me and with my angels. Sing for the world to hear. Watch as others join in. I mean, if you think about if you've been to a concert, or maybe you attend a church and they have music, worship time, like there's something about being in this kind of large crowd type gathering where multiple people are singing the same song, and there's almost an energy, this like electrifying aspect that it shifts the atmosphere in a way, and it fills you. I think, there's so much about even just having that song for yourself, but let's say you have a particular song that you especially love and listening to it yourself or singing it yourself and then singing it with a crowd. It's just a whole different level. And this idea that you can invite other people into that as you trust and you live in the joy that God is offering, it shifts your own atmosphere, right? It shifts your outlook in life. It shifts how you react to situations, how you interact with the people around you. And as you are living that out, it's like you're singing a song and you're inviting people to join in and sing that song with you. Because if you think about it, right, let's say there's the most beautiful, amazing song ever in the world, but if you've never heard it before, you don't know it exists. You don't know that it's possible. And so similarly with joy, right? If you've never seen anybody live in God's joy, until God like teaches you and shows you directly, you don't even know that it's possible. You don't know it exists. And so as you begin to live out that joy in your own life, and I do think it's a process, and there's levels and layers, and there's, it says about like the fullness of joy, right? We can live in a certain measure of joy without fully getting to that fullness, but to whatever measure of joy that you're living in, you're showing, right? You're sharing that most beautiful song with the people around you, your friends, your family, the stranger that you interact with at the grocery store or whatever. There is something that you carry with you. He uses this metaphor of shining quite a bit, the same idea. Shine, sing, and recognize that God is your source. You're singing his song. You're shining his light. And so it's not up to you. It's not something that you have to do perfectly. Like, I love how he's directly addressing that, right? It's not about speaking out or living your life just right. Just sing, have joy. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to say and do everything exactly right. I think God is so much less concerned about our behaviors than we are. I mean, from a general, I'm probably stereotyping a bit, but how we can be sometimes in the church or as Christians, I think we get so caught up in behaviors and like, that's sin and don't do that. And I think we're so much more focused on it than God is. What God wants is our hearts. And when you begin to have his song in your heart, when you begin to trust, when you begin to experience his joy, I think a lot of the behaviors follow. Because if you think about it, how often, just take a child, for example. Usually if a child is, let's say, lying about something, it's usually a response because they're afraid, right? They don't want to get in trouble. They're trying to avoid, like, how much of what we do that would be considered like not a good behavior or a sin, how much of that is coming out of fear, is coming out of trying to do whatever we can to do our best because we're carrying all the responsibility on our own shoulders. And so we feel like we have to do this because we have to avoid that. And if we can get to that place of trust and joy, perfect love casts out fear, right? The more love that you have in you and flowing through your life, the less fear there's going to be, because fear and love cannot coexist. And so if we can focus first on just being in his presence, on recognizing the ways that he has demonstrated his love for us, on trusting more, on inching forward in our faith, that as we focus on all of that, we're able to receive more of his joy, more of his love, more of his peace. And a lot of those quote unquote, sinful behaviors, they kind of just don't happen anymore, because I don't need to lie about something if I'm not so afraid of what the reaction is going to be. I'm not so afraid of what negative outcome, right? I can be more authentic about who I am, because I know that my value is not in what another person thinks of me. My value is in who God says I am. So I just love that reminder that sometimes we can get so caught up in just trying to be perfect, trying to follow all the rules or check all the boxes, and really, he's just inviting us to sing his song. He's inviting us to have joy. I mean, if you think about it, most of the time when we're singing, it is a joyful experience, right? We're not singing to a song we don't like. We're singing to songs that we enjoy. And that's the life that he's inviting us into, is enjoy the gifts that he's given us. Enjoy the gift of his presence. Trust that you're not alone. Trust that God loves you, that God has plans for you, that he is speaking to you, and he wants you to hear, and he wants to give you encouragement, and he wants to maybe guide you or give you peace when you're faced with tough decisions. And that as we can step into that more and more, we can sing with abandon, and we can live out that joy in our everyday lives, and really allow others to catch that same song and to see what that joy looks like. I mean, I can see in my own life when I go back, it's been a long process, but if I go back, a decade or more, and I think about what my life looked like, just honestly, almost the tension that I felt, because so much of that weight and responsibility I carried on myself, and how I can see when I interact with people now, there's so much more authenticity. There's so much just less pressure and stress. And I think a way to describe that is there is more joy. There is more joy in my life. There is more joy in my interactions. There's more joy in my relationships, that I'm not there yet. I'm not to the fullness, right? His joy is not complete in me. I'm still learning to trust, but I do have so much that I can remember, that I can remind myself, that I can hold in my heart. And it allows me to have a different perspective and kind of way of life. And it is really cool to take that step back and see. So I encourage you in that, maybe take some time to look back. How have you seen God perhaps walk alongside you, encourage you, help you? And that's something that you can kind of hold in your heart, and maybe even look at your own life to say, like, hey, is there more freedom? Is there more joy? And I think that helps when we can see the progress. It helps encourage us, where when we know we're not there yet, it helps to see how far we've come. So I just want to kind of, in a way, pray or speak that over you, that you would experience fullness of joy, that you would experience God's beautiful song in your own life, and that as you experience it and walk in it, that others around you would begin to join in, that they would see the evidence of peace and love and joy in your life, and they would begin to catch it, to learn that same tune and begin to sing that song with you and receive that joy in their own life. And I encourage you, don't be afraid to share your own stories. Don't be afraid to talk about it. And because you don't be so concerned about speaking out just right or living just right. You may think like, oh, but I still have all these problems, and I still, mess up in all of these ways. I can't share with others. It's not about that. Has your life changed? Have you received a level of love and peace and joy? If so, share that with the people around you, because I guarantee you they want some of that love and peace and joy in their own lives. So encourage you in that, and just pray for more and more joy in Jesus' name. Thanks for tuning in to the Sincerely God podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe and share with your friends. If you'd like more information, you can go to my website, sincerelygod.com. There you'll find links to my social media, as well as an ability to get your own copy of Sincerely God, a collection of quotes, either the book or the prayer journal. Until next time, keep listening to how God is speaking to you.
It's all inside you, waiting to